And hello, this is Luminous Star. Welcome to my channel, Luminous Star. Welcome to my channel, Luminous Star. For you guys who are joining me right now live, thank you so much for joining me. And for my stars, you're truly special to me. Mwah! Thank you so much for your subscription and for your support, keeping me motivated to keep this channel active. If this is your first time, welcome to Luminous Star. And may you come back and visit again, I hope. Okay, I'm going to be doing a slide presentation for you today or tonight, wherever you are. And this is going to be about maybe 2 hours, an hour to 2 hours. So make sure you get comfortable and go ahead and relax and maybe go ahead and get something to eat too. You know, I have my little juice here, and I'm going to go ahead and share some great information with you guys today. This is going to be about focusing on new beginnings. Okay, 2017 is here, right? And some of us have already made our New Year's resolution and are already putting those things into process in our lives. We're already going into the New Year's resolutions, and we are checking mark those things off of our list. Okay, and some of us haven't quite started yet. Okay, and anyway, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some great information, and the slide presentation, the link is going to be in the description box below. I'm going to upload this video at a later date, and also look for the slide presentation link in the chat room. Okay, again, focusing on new beginnings. And this is going to be about an hour to 2 hours, more like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Okay. So anyway, having said all that, let me go ahead and get started with the live stream and slide presentation. Okay, guys, again, thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the show. All right. Okay, guys, I'm going to be bringing up the slide presentation, so give me a few moments. Okay, guys, I'm going to be bringing. All right. Here we go. Okay, and some of you may want to go ahead and bring up the slide presentation and read along, okay, as I go over all the information. All right, and again, this video is going to be loaded up later with that slide presentation link in the description box below, along with my email address and my chat room address. Okay, here we go. All right, focusing on new beginnings. All right, I'm going to be going over, this is going to be 2 parts. The first part is external relationship inventory. Okay, so that means, the relationships we're having with other people. or those relationships outside of ourselves, right? And the second part is going to be on the internal relationship inventory, the relationship we're having with ourselves. Okay, so it's going to be in two parts. Part number one, external relationship inventory. Okay, and part two is going to be internal relationship inventory. Okay, so in the first part, I'm going to be going over 3 topics. That's going to be the communication styles, resonance, and also energy transference. So those are the 3 topics in the first part I'm really going to be focusing in on. Okay, all right, here we go. I'm going to be going over, again, points, and I'm going to be going over examples, and also going to be sharing with you guys critical questions and tools. All right. But at the end of the slide presentation, I'm really going to be going over the tools and those critical questions. First, I'm going to be going over the points and the examples. All right, here we go. First point. There are a few factors that constitute for an unhealthy relationship, such as ineffective communication, dysfunctional and abusive behaviors, and indifference. Okay, because these things are pretty much a part of an unhealthy relationship. Having a poor sense of self, along with a tainted self-image, is often a result of enmeshment in an unhealthy relationship or unhealthy relationships. Okay, because some of us are having more than one unhealthy relationship. Okay, so in this 2017, one of the things that we have to do in order to focus on new beginnings is definitely take care of those relationship inventories. That's something that pretty much goes hand in hand with a person transitioning or changing. They have to look at the relationships they're currently having, and maybe sometimes even the past relationships they've had. So as they begin to focus on their new beginnings, they're going to automatically or naturally look at their relationships. So this is one of the main reasons why I want to go over with this with you guys today. Okay, you guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and encourage you to go ahead and focus on your new beginnings in this 2017. All right, so talking about unhealthy relationships here. Feeling unworthy while possessing a strong desire to love and be loved influences repeated choices to invest in unhealthy relationships. Okay, so pause. I want to say something about that. When we are feeling like, okay, when we feel unworthy, all right, that's already a red flag right there that the relationship we're having with ourselves is a thumbs down. Okay, it can use some improvement. Okay, so when we are walking around feeling unworthy of love, but yet we have a strong desire to be loved and to love, yeah, that is a surefire sign of a poor relationship with the self. And not only that, more than likely, we're going to repeat having poor relationships, not with only ourselves, but with others. Okay, but first I want to talk about the relationship external. That means with others. So we're more likely, we're going to repeat having some unhealthy relationships with other people because we're walking around feeling unworthy of love. And we're also having a strong desire to love and be loved. You see how that kind of, makes a conflict within that cause some internal conflicts. Therefore, that's going to manifest outside of ourselves externally. So that's going to manifest in our lives. And we're going to be appealing to people who are like narcissists and cluster B personality. And we're going to not only appeal to them, but we're going to find them appealing as well. I hope this is, making sense to you, because I know for me, that was a game changer. When I started to put that together, what's going on inside is going to reflect, the external. All right. So when we're walking around feeling like, oh my gosh, I wish I had somebody in my life to love, and I wish I had somebody in my life to love me, but at the same time, I don't really feel like I deserve it. You see how that can cause an internal conflict, because You know, one side of you is saying, well, I want love, but the other side of you is doing everything to make sure that you don't receive it. Okay, so feeling unworthy, yet at the same time having a strong desire to be loved and to love someone else, yeah, that's going to cause some issues in our lives. Okay, so having that strong desire yet feeling unworthy can cause internal conflict. All right, so and more than likely that's going to also have us repeating the mistake of having unhealthy relationships. Okay, we're going to keep on having relationship after relationship after relationship, but it's going to be unhealthy. Okay, next point. Individuals who are invested in relationships with the cluster B personality often are traumatized as a result. In the cases of children who are groomed by the cluster B, unfortunately, they are used as sources of supply, therefore do not have a strong sense of their own identity as they become adults. Okay, so narcissists are individuals who have been chosen. Okay, pause. I want to say something about that. The children. When children are groomed, right? Because this is really going to get into the heart of this whole entire presentation here. And that is not having a strong sense of self. Okay, so when children are raised by the cluster Bs, okay, those who have a cluster B personality, when children are groomed, okay, that's actually that's more accurate than to say that they're being raised by someone who's a cluster B personality. More than likely, that cluster B personality, who happens to be a parent, okay, they're going to groom their children to behave either like a golden child, okay, or codependently. So by the time they become adults, you know, they're going to be behaving codependently, okay. So, or they're going to be like the cluster B personality. They're going to develop that type of personality. All right. So basically, when children are groomed by the cluster B, what happens is that they don't have a strong sense of their own identities. Therefore, they don't have a strong sense of self as they grow up. So by the time they become adults, like I was saying, they more than likely will behave codependently, and they will not only appeal to the cluster B personalities like a narcissist, right, and become romantically involved with them, find those type of people attractive. Okay, so children who are groomed by the cluster B personality, they're not going to have a strong sense of self because their own identities is a big question mark to them. They don't know who they are. Okay, and as they grow, go into the world and they're growing, and they don't really know who they are. They don't have a strong sense of their own identities. Okay, so this is what often happens with children who are groomed by the cluster B, you know, because sometimes it's the other way around. They develop a cluster B personality themselves, and they are narcissists. They become narcissists by the time they grow into adulthood. Okay, so I just wanted to pause and say something about that. That's a very important point, I think. Narcissists are individuals who have chosen to detach from their higher selves, which is their true identity, while spitefully, that's a key word, while spitefully deciding not to love anymore. Therefore, present a false sense of self. They present a false self to the world. Okay, so narcissists, they detach from their true self, or which is, again, we're talking about the identity of a person. So cluster B personality, narcissists, they detach from their true self or their higher self. Therefore, they present to the world a false self. This is something that narcissists, and we know, are notorious for. They present a false sense of self. They present a false self to the world. And that's another way of saying they're not presenting their true identities. They have lost their true identities as well. Just like the child who was groomed to behave codependently. Next point. All right. As one begins to learn how to invest in healthy relationships, these are the things to be mindful of while taking relationship inventory in order to avoid engaging in other unhealthy relationships. Okay. Choosing to reconnect with yourself is one of the most powerful things you can accomplish. Okay, pause. All right, about that. As one learns how to invest, okay, because this is something that some of us have to learn how to do, because especially when we're talking about if we were children being raised by or groomed by the cluster B personality, we have to learn eventually if we want to see any type of changes, right? Or if we want to interrupt the pathology of having unhealthy relationships, we want to break that pattern. One of the first things that we have to do is to learn how to have healthy relationships. So it's, you know, it's a process. It's a conditioning. So we have to first make that choice. Like, okay, I want to learn how to have healthy relationships. So when we do this, we have to be mindful, okay, of taking that relationship inventory. That means we have to look at those relationships that we have had and use our past as a reference guide only. So instead of looking at the past and being stagnant and just looking at how we were mistreated, I mean, don't belittle that. But if we're only looking at that, so we feel depressed, we feel sad, we're frustrated, and it's a vicious cycle. It's like we keep reliving a nightmare that we can't wake up from. Okay, so that's what that looks like when we keep looking at the past and we're stagnant and we repeatedly invest in unhealthy relationships. That's what that looks like. But if we use our past as a reference guide only, we're learning the valuable lessons of each unhealthy relationship, actually of each relationship we've ever had since childhood, those relationships that we can remember, right? We look at each one of those relationships. This is the relationship inventory, which is external because other people are involved. We're looking at those relationships and we're taking inventory using our past as a reference guide only to look at the valuable lessons that were there for us to learn. So we're getting it now. So that way we don't have to repeat some unhealthy relationship, you know, as far as like the pain goes. We don't have to repeat that. All right. We're going to continue to have relationships. But where the pattern is interrupted is that when we have relationships, we're not repeating having unhealthy relationships. And we don't have to repeat having those painful experiences that we used to have. Okay. Because we're getting the valuable lesson while we look at those past relationships and we take inventory. All right. So this is part of the external relationship inventory because it involves other people. Okay. So let me go ahead and go to the next slide. So when we reconnect with ourselves, that's one of the most powerful things we can do. And the first step, well, not maybe the first step, but one of the first 3 steps is to take inventory of relationships, okay, in order to reconnect with ourselves. Because this way we can learn some valuable lessons, right? All right, examples. Naturally, individuals will care enough, okay, to learn how to communicate with one another if there is initially any resonance between them. Okay, so initially, if there's resonance between you and I, naturally, we're gonna wanna learn how to communicate with each other. So therefore, we can grow together and our relationship continues to thrive. All right, so naturally, if we vibe with each other, we're gonna wanna have a great relationship and we're gonna wanna learn how to communicate with each other effectively. All right, individuals who engage in dysfunctional relationships tend to become enmeshed or entangled, right? One could easily become oblivious to the possibility that the main reason for the tension within some relationships could simply be due to a lack of resonance. All right. So basically what that is, I want to say something about that. And if we don't resonate with somebody, right? If we don't vibe with them, then it's not necessarily because we hate one another or we don't like each other and we're out to get one another and we're out to do each other harm and damage. That's not really what that is. Now, that's the cluster B personality style. But let's just say you don't have a cluster B personality, right? So when you don't resonate or when you don't vibe with one another, right, there's a tension there. And a lot of us, we don't really it doesn't dawn on us. We're not really aware, and we don't really think about the fact that it's simply because we don't vibe with each other. That's why the tension is in the air. It's not really because we have hate for that person, or we're casting shade on that person because we hate them, and we're plotting and scheming, and how can I trip this person up? How can I cause drama? This is, again, that's the narcissist way. But for those of us who don't have a cluster B personality, when we don't vibe with somebody, when we don't resonate with them, there's a slight tension in the air, in the environment. This doesn't mean that we're out to get somebody or that we hate them. It simply means we don't vibe with them. We don't resonate with them. And therefore, we will not invest in a deep relationship with them. That doesn't mean anybody is a bad person. That doesn't mean this is a bad gal or a bad guy. Not at all, because everybody does not resonate with each other. That's just a part of life. However, when we're talking about the cluster B, whole different story. They're looking to plot. They're looking to scheme. They're looking to destroy somebody, right? But here's what's interesting. If there isn't any tension in the environment or in the air or in the relationship, should there be a beginning stages of a relationship? See, what the narcissist will do, they will cause chaos. They will cause drama because they have to have the tension in the air in order to feed. So that's what's interesting about the narcissist, is that if there's no tension, if there's no, if it doesn't look like y'all don't vibe, in other words, if it looks like y'all can get along and you're not causing any issues for the narcissist, you're not casting shade, you're not gossiping, you're not causing any problems for them, they, believe it or not, narcissists will thumbs that down, like, we got to have some tension here. we have to act like we're at odds with each other in order for me to be all right with this. See, that's a narcissist. But the rest of us, no. When we don't vibe with one another, when we don't resonate, we keep it moving, yet we can still be pleasant with each other. Okay. All right. So most of us, that escapes us. We don't really think about the fact that the tension is in the air simply because we just don't vibe with each other. We don't resonate, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be a problem. All right. There's still ways that we can find a how to get along with each other, or a common ground somewhere, But anyway, let me go ahead and move on. Often those who have a cluster B personality, let me back up. Okay, when the lacks of resonance with others are ignored, this could cause misunderstandings, frustration, anxiety, and depression within all relationships with others. So like I was saying to you guys and gals, when we don't resonate with somebody, when we don't vibe with them, and we misunderstand that, okay? And in other words, we're not aware of that this can cause a lot of tension in the air, whereas it leads to misunderstandings, okay? Anxiety, right? It leads to us feeling depressed because we think we have to perform. Those of us who don't have a cluster B personality, okay? Those of us who behave codependently, when we don't vibe with someone and we don't resonate with them, and there's tension in the air, we automatically think that there's something wrong, particularly with us. So we feel depressed. Some of us feeling that anxiety, depression, because see, this is a misunderstanding. We're not aware that it just means we don't vibe with the person, and it's okay. We don't have to make anything happen between ourselves and that other person. We don't have to perform, because when we were groomed as children, when we were groomed, right, we were groomed to behave codependently. And this is one of the classic behaviors of a person who behaves codependently, is that when there's tension in the air and they don't vibe with somebody, they automatically internalize that and think they must perform. Oh, I got to make this person love me. We have to get along. No, guys and gals, don't have to do that. That only means that you don't vibe with that person. Y'all don't resonate with one another. Okay? You two or you all don't resonate. It's okay. You don't have to perform. So there's no reason really for the anxiety. Well, let me take that. Let me reword what I just said. There's no real evidence okay, which would lead a person to anxiety or depression. In other words, there's really no real evidence there to support what you are feeling, what you're feeling. Okay. What I'm saying is you and that person don't vibe. That doesn't mean that you must internalize that, therefore leading to feelings or a state of depression, feelings of sadness, frustration. See what I'm saying? You don't have to internalize that. You can make that choice and say, wait a minute, me and this person don't vibe. Me and this person don't resonate. And you know what? It's okay. There's probably certain things, if we had a conversation, that we can find to be, similar with one another or find common ground. But this is not that day. This is not that time. We're not doing that. And we may never do that. And you know what? It's okay. All right. So there's no reason for me to internalize all of this and carry this and try to make me and this person, try to make a connection. Why is that up to me? You see what I'm saying? And no, it's not up to you. Okay. You just don't vibe with the person. So it's all right. All right. It's okay. Because you two or you all may have an opportunity later. And this is the example. You may have an opportunity later. Y'all might have a great conversation and you may find out that y'all have a lot in common. Whereas initially it just seemed like y'all didn't vibe. Okay. So it's all right. If you don't vibe with somebody, don't make a big deal out of it. It's okay. Even if this is a family member, it's all right. Because there are some people in our families we do not resonate with. We don't vibe with. Just because you share the same family tree don't mean your energy and your spirit that you embody resonates with the energy and spirit of your aunt or your uncle or your grandparents or your parents or your sibling. It doesn't mean that. It's okay. All right. Next example. Often those who have a cluster B personality do not possess the emotional capacity, maturity, integrity, psychological stability, or spiritual balance to listen or engage in practical conversation in order to resolve issues in any of their relationships. So basically, cluster B personality, narcissists, they don't even have the stuff, okay, to even try to come together with somebody else. They're not interested. Not at all. They're not interested. They don't have that within. They're detached from themselves. So how the hell are they going to detach, or how the hell are they going to attach to somebody else? Okay? They have detached from themselves. They're not interested in going out into the world and having meaningful relationships and connections. It just doesn't happen. Okay? So, and then really when you look at it that way, it actually makes sense. A person who have detached from his or herself, naturally and automatically, they're not going to be interested in connecting with anyone else. Okay. So conflicts occur in every relationship, even in the healthiest of them. However, avoidance is a poor coping skill. Let me say that again, because this is a huge one. Avoidance is a poor coping skill. All right. That many cluster B personalities use, which could indicate that there is a lack of resonance in the relationship. Okay. Let me break that down. When the cluster B personality is intentionally being avoidant, that can cause tension in the relationship, which somebody who's not the cluster B personality or who behaves codependently or who is on the receiving end of that, first of all, they're choosing to receive that and internalize it. So that tension, like I was talking about before, is in the air. In the cluster B personality, okay, they're doing this on purpose. So when it looks like that you two are not vibing, you have to remember the narcissists, they ghost. So this is where the avoidance also comes in. So they are intentionally doing this. They're intentionally are making it seem like you all are at odds. Okay, because another thing that a narcissist does is they play the antagonist, and they do it on purpose for sources of supply. All right. So when they do the avoidance thing, right, or when they ghost, when the narcissist does this, again, the other person tends to internalize all of this tension that's now in the air. Well, maybe it wasn't there before, but now that the narcissist has ghost, or they're ghosting and they're avoiding, okay, they're avoiding whatever is going on in the relationship that maybe they don't like. There are certain issues. There's disagreements, which can cause some conflicts, which is a healthy thing. All the healthy relationships have this occurrence. It happens, okay, because you're dealing with different energies and spirits here, okay? So when the conflicts occur, the narcissist thumbs that down, they start to get ghost and they avoid, causing tension in the relationship. So while they are avoiding everything, the tension is rising and the other person is internalizing this. All right. So when they do this, in order to gain sources of supply and to make everything look like there's no resonance or connection in a relationship, again, the other person tends to internalize it. And this can cause depression, frustration, anger, anxiety to spike. But the narcissist is doing all this on purpose. They're over there salivating. They're waiting for the supply to come in. All right. And they're sitting back, probably internalizing this by laughing at it. They're not internalizing it the way the other person is. The other person feels, sadness. They feel frustration. They feel angry because they want the quality of the relationship to be on point. Whereas the narcissist is purposefully, they're intentionally doing the opposite so they can gain sources of supply, so they can eat that up. Okay. So it's just like you're on one side of a burning house and you, like the fireman, you're aiming that hose and you're putting that fire, you're trying to put that fire out with the watering hose like the fireman, and the narcissist is on the other side. Again, the house is burning. They're on the other side pouring the fuel. They got a hose and there's not water coming out, but there's fuel coming out. So you're on one side trying to put the fire out of the house, and they're on the other side of the same house, lighting the fire up, making it, bigger, making a big ass bonfire. So you're wondering why there seems to be no coming together in the relationship. Well, this is one of the reasons why, because you two are coming together. You're on the opposite sides of the same spectrum, and you're just clashing, and nobody's going anywhere. You're both pressing, but it's just stagnant. It goes nowhere. All right. So this is often why, a lot of the times, you're trying to resolve issues in the relationship and the narcissist is doing the opposite. They're putting 100% into doing the opposite, and you're putting 100% of doing the opposite of what they're doing. So you both are going at 100 and you're just stuck. Okay. So I hope that cleared that up for some of you, because I know this is a big one that a lot of us go through when we're dealing with cluster B personality in our relationships. It just seems like things, the more we try, the worse things get. Well, that's why. Okay. So in order to gain source of supply, the cluster B personality would rather instigate conflicts, like I was just saying, which could influence emotional stress, such as trauma, depression, fear, anger, anxiety in those around them. Just like I was saying, most of us, we internalize this tension that's going on in the relationship that the narcissist is intentionally planting. They're dropping the bombs in that relationship. They're dropping not the love bombs, but they're dropping all the tension bombs. Okay. And they're doing it on purpose for sources of supply. And we internalize it. Therefore, we start feeling, anger, frustration, anxiety starts to spike. Our health starts to deteriorate, all these things because we're internalizing it. All right. So learning how to effectively communicate is vital in order to achieve successful conflict resolution and trust in relationships. So successful conflict resolution and the trust issue that a lot of us have due to dealing with the cluster B personality. Okay. So in order to have trust in a relationship, in order to have conflict resolution, successful conflict resolution. Okay. Very different there. Conflict resolution is very important. It is vital in every relationship, along with trust. Okay. So in order to have that, we have to learn how to communicate effectively. And that is something that cluster B personalities, they thumbs down, because that means if they do all the things necessary to make a relationship healthy, then they forfeit their sources of supply. And narcissists are not going to have that. They're trying to do everything they can to gain sources of supply. All right, next example. There are certain types of behavioral patterns during communication which can cause unnecessary conflict and drama in relationships, such as influencer and dominant. Okay, the influencer may be a person who gossips, tells lies, and spreads rumors. Okay, the dominant one may be a person who interrupts others during the conversation, brutally criticizes, and uses sarcasm. A lot of us probably have experienced all of these things when dealing with cluster personality. Okay, their type, the behavior that they have, they bring it to the communication style. All right. So again, oftentimes we may be talking to the narcissist or the cluster personality, and they often interrupt. They use sarcasm. Okay, they may be very subtle in insulting you. And one example for the subtle insults are, they'll start off saying something nice, but then they tear you down with saying something awful. You know, it's like they start off paying you a compliment, but then they smack you with an insult. Yeah, more than likely, that's the cluster B personality that you're dealing with. Okay, and again, it's all good. It's not you, so try not to internalize that. Again, this is about the energy and the spirit that that individual chooses to embody. And the energy and the spirit that you choose to embody may not resonate. And you know what? It's all right, because you don't have to give place to them in your life. And that does include your mind and your heart. You don't have to give them place at all. You just, you know, you're clear on, well, that's them and this me. Again, having a strong sense of self, which is, again, basically the heart of what I'm talking about here today in this, on this live stream, is having a stronger sense of self and focusing on new beginnings. And that means, yes, having your own identity, learning who you are, and having a stronger sense of yourself. This is one of the best ways to start the focusing on the new beginnings. Okay, so the dominant one is somebody, again, what they do, again, these are cluster B personality types. The influencer, I just went over that. They gossip, they tell lies, spread rumors. The dominant, pardon me, I went over the dominant one, which is the one who interrupts often. They make subtle, you know, even sarcastic, right? Sarcastic insults and comments. It's kind of like you're kind of wondering, okay, what they just said to me, are they paying me a compliment or are they insulting me? You know, that kind of thing. And sometimes they're very condescending about it. And, you know, it's like, don't like that. You're left feeling kind of icky about that. So that's the dominant one. And the influencer is a person who likes to gossip, spread rumors, and also they will character assassinate. They'll say something that they, you know, they act like they're cool with you, but behind your back, they'll tear you down. The character assassination is saying things about you to imply that you have the characteristics of someone who is undesirable, when that is not true. Okay, so that is character assassination that oftentimes narcissists will do to gain sources of supply, and also to try to make themselves look good to everybody else, that they're trying to make you look badly. You know, they're trying to make you look terrible to this audience or these group of people or this person. But at the same time, they come off to that audience or that group of people or that person as the angel, as the Samaritan, as the good girl or the good guy. Okay, so character assassination is very big of the tactics that narcissists like to do. All right, so these are the types of behaviors that the narcissist likes to bring to the communication, okay, or to the conversation, which is a communication style. The influencer and the dominant. Okay, very often narcissists like to make the topic of conversations about them. Again, that plays into the dominant one. Often the cluster Bs are confronted about pardon me, yeah, often when the cluster Bs are confronted about their behavior in a relationship, they will turn the conversation back to themselves while making excuses for their behavior rather than take responsibility for them. So pause there. What I want to say about that is, you know, when we find out that the narcissist or the cluster B personality has done something, or they have said something behind our back and it got back to us, and we go and we want to have a conversation with them about it, again, conflict resolution. We're trying to clear the air, right? We want to go talk to them about it, and we want to clear this up. Whenever we do that, and some of us can relate to this, some of us have had the experience, whereas when we tell the narcissist or the cluster B personality, hey, that really hurt me what you did the other night, or when you, you know, that really bothered me the other night when you kept interrupting me when I was, you know, having a conversation or trying to have a conversation with you, and you kept, you know, there was often a lot of interruptions. And see, what the narcissist does, they will flip that around and make it about them. And they will make excuses such as, well, you know, my hearing's been, I've been hearing, you know, my hearing's been failing me lately. You know, actually, I've been going to the doctor about that. And then they start talking about their back pain, and, you know, they start talking about all the drama in their life. And before you know it, you know, the conversation then went back about them, and they're having you apologize. Okay, they're having you, so they hope that you will apologize to them, instead of them taking full responsibility for what they have done or what they have said, okay, and apologizing to you. See, they flip that around. They make it about them, and they will make excuses about their behavior. Instead of saying, well, gosh, I didn't know you felt that way, or I apologize, I didn't mean that. No, cluster B personality, they're not going to do that. They'll sit up there and have you apologizing to them before the conversation is over. And so that's one way that they actually dominate the communication, or that's how they bring a type of behavior pattern that they have to a communication style, or during the communication or the conversation. All right. So they will often do that. They will make it about them, and they'll turn it back around and make it about them, the conversation about them in the issue. They will not take responsibility for that issue of what they really are responsible for. Okay, but they'll turn that around, and they will attempt to have you apologize to them. Okay, instead of them, intuitively, they know that they effed up. They know that they did something, but they just don't really care. They're not focused on that. Their main objective from second to second is gaining sources of supply. So they're not really focusing or concentrating on what they may have said to hurt you, or what they have done to hurt you. And they're gone. They're past that. But when you bring it back to them, like say a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, maybe the next day, maybe a couple of hours later, you bring it to them because you're trying to clear the air. You want to have a better relationship with them, right? You're trying to clear things up. And what they will do is they will turn the conversation back around and make it about them, and have you apologizing to them. Okay, they'll make excuses for why they did what they did, or what they said, you know, because really they're not thinking about it. From second to second, they're scoping, and they're on the prowl for sources of supply, whether that be from you or somebody else. It doesn't matter to them. Sources of supply is their main objective. Okay. Now, this breakdown in communication can cause tension in relationships. Okay, so when the cluster B personality has done the switcheroo, like I was talking about, this breakdown in communication, right? Because they're not receiving what you're saying. You're trying to clear the air. They're doing the opposite. Remember I was talking about that burning house? You on one side, like the fireman trying to put it out. They're on the other, like the arsonist, pouring more fuel on the fire, right? At the same time, both of y'all going 100 at it, and you clash. And the narcissist intuitively knows this, by the way, and they like it. They thumbs that up, okay? Because this way they can continue to eat. All right, as long as you're there going 100 on the other side, that's cool with them, because they're going 100, and they need that somebody there to go at the 100 on the opposite side of the spectrum, in order for them to feed, in order for them to clash with somebody, and to feed or even to enmesh or to merge with that other side of the spectrum. Narcissists need that, because if they don't have that, they don't eat. They're left starving because they need somebody to comply. So when you're continuing to comply to that, you're going 100 trying to make the relationship better, and they're going 100 trying to throw all the blocks in the way to make sure that the relationship stays or remains unhealthy. I hope, this is a clearer picture for you guys, because when I got this was a game changer for me. And I really got that years ago. I was like, you know what? I see that. It dawned on me. I said, this is why I've been feeling sad and frustrated and depressed in that particular relationship with the cluster B personality, right? Because there I was trying to make the relationship, or I was contributing to the relationship all the things that will make the relationship healthy, or so I thought at that time. And the narcissist or the cluster B personality was doing the opposite, okay? Causing or making sure there was tension in the air all the time. So there was always a problem, okay? Not being that, there was conflicts that every healthy relationship have, and we can come together and discuss it and clear the air. Not so with the narcissist. They do the opposite. They cause drama, chaos. That way there's always tension in the air. So you internalize that, because intuitively they know you're going to internalize that. And as long as you internalize that, they can eat, they can feed, and they grow bigger and stronger, and they continue to exist and keep on doing what they're doing. Okay, so this breakdown in communication can cause tension in a relationship while issues go unresolved. Character assassination is another way that narcissists can play the role of influencer in relationships to obtain sources of supply. Like I was saying to you guys before, narcissists are master manipulators, right? Therefore, can influence the image of those around them, okay? Especially children. So narcissists are master manipulators, and they can influence the image of those around them, okay? In other words, they can, when the character assassination happens, like I was telling you before, they can have you looking like the demon and they look like the angel, when it's really the behavior is the other way around, okay? But they're master manipulators. Narcissists, cluster B personalities, are master manipulators. So when they, when they start digging their claws into that character assassination method or tactic that they do, they like that tactic. So they will do this, and it's like, okay, now I can make this person look like, somebody that others may not want to get next to. But at the same time, this is what the narcissist may say, I can get sources of supply because, wow, they're not going to want to deal with them. They want to deal with me. So I can get sources of supply. At the same time, that person can look like the devil. So the narcissist is thinking all this, and they're plotting, and it's like, this is what they do. So they're master manipulators, and they can influence the image of those around them, or the images of those around them. They're very good at it, actually. All right, especially children, as I was stating, because most of the children who have been groomed by cluster Bs, this is also what's happening, the character assassination. Therefore, those children, they're not being encouraged to know who they really are. So they have a weak sense of self. They have a poor self-image, all right? As they begin to go into adolescence and then adulthood, they don't really know who they are. They think they are who the narcissist says they are. This is often what happens when the cluster B personalities get their hands on children, unfortunately. Those who also operate, pardon me, let me go back. I skipped a line. Okay, next example. Those with cluster B personality are often operating from a place of fear rather than love. Those who also operate from fear desire to be loved, but feel unworthy of it. So this is an individual, like I was saying, it's describing to you guys before, if we are walking around, feeling unworthy of love, but yet we have a strong desire to love and be loved, yeah, that's, again, that's going to indicate that we have a poor self-image and we have a weak sense of self. We really don't know who we are. And not only that, we don't have a great relationship with ourselves, which all of those things correlate. Okay? Not having a strong sense of self is a indication that that is an individual who does not have a great relationship with his or herself, because they really don't know who they are. So they're going to have a poor self-image. They're going to have a weak sense of self rather than a strong sense of self. All right. So when the cluster B personality is operating from a place of fear, they can influence others who don't have a cluster B personality to also operate from a place of fear. And that's what that looks like. Operating from a place of fear rather than love looks like the person who is walking around, have a strong desire to love and be loved, yet they feel unworthy. That's a person who operates from a place of fear, not love. Okay, so this is not to put anybody down. This is not to, insult anyone or anything like that. I'm just really making it clear that this is how some of us operate from a place of fear. I did this in the past. Okay, I used to operate from a place of fear when it came to romantic relationships, but really all relationships. Okay, it's like, I desire to love someone and be loved at the same time, rather than being the one who's always loving and not getting it back. I walked around with that sense of, I desire to be loved, and at the same time as I love the person or other individuals. Okay, yet I feel unworthy of it. I don't feel like I deserve it. So I had a strong desire, yet I felt like I was unworthy and I didn't feel like I deserved it. So that's a conflict of interest, which is internal. So once again, the cluster B personality, they're on the opposite side of the spectrum, and they're operating from a place of fear, and they can influence others around them to also operate from a place of fear. The others are on the opposite side of the spectrum, namely the ones who behave codependently. So these individuals are vibrational matches for narcissists. And this is something that I had to face. Well, I did face. Okay, because I was once a vibrational match for cluster B personality. Okay, because I had that. I was in that state, whereas I felt unworthy of exactly what I had a strong desire for, which is to be loved and to love. Okay, someone else. I had the capacity and I had the ability to nurture and care and love others. However, I wasn't getting what I was putting out. So there was a breakdown somewhere. I had to look at that. What was that about? Okay. And unworthiness. That was part of the big culprit. That was one of the big culprits of that. Because if you walk around with the spirit of unworthiness, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, but you have a strong desire for it, then that will cut that off. You're not going to receive exactly what you desire because you feel undeserving. You feel unworthy of it. Okay. So one of the big culprits, again, of that was walking around feeling unworthy. Okay. So that is also operating from a place of fear. And that means I was a vibrational match. At that time, I chose to face that fact that I was a vibrational match for the cluster B personality, because they're operating from a place of fear, and so was I. But if I wasn't operating from a place of fear and I was operating from a place of love, we would not have been vibrational matches. Because see, two opposing spirits or two opposing energies cannot share the same space for a long period of time, if at all. Cannot happen. Can't happen. So that's why I say vibrational matches. So those who are a vibrational match for the cluster B personality or the narcissist are people who also operate from a place of fear, but they're on the opposite side of the same spectrum as the narcissist. Okay, they're on the opposite side of the same spectrum. The narcissist is over here, or cluster B personality is over here, and those who behave codependently and feel unworthy of what they desire, which is love, they're over here. Spectrum, opposite side of the same spectrum, because they're both operating from fear. So they're vibrational matches. And they can always stay right at 100, each one of them, 100, and nothing's going anywhere. Nothing's happening. It's stagnant. Their level of dysfunctional behavior, plus cluster B personality, and those who behave codependently, their level of dysfunctional behavior is equal. That's why they're vibrational matches, and they stay right here. 100, each one of them, 100. Nobody giving more than the other. It's stagnant. Hope that makes sense. And when I got that, that was a game changer for me. Okay, so unfortunately, some cluster B personalities repeatedly influence fear in others during dysfunctional relationships. Okay, like I was saying, they influence fear in others, or others to feel fear, okay, or experience fear. They influence this. Anxiety, anger, and depression are dominating emotional states, which seem to be consistent in unhealthy relationships, of which narcissists often feed, right? Because they have to feed off of something. Because if you're walking around with a high vibrational emotion, such as joy and gratitude, right? Narcissists is going to thumb that down, right? They're going to thumb that down, but at the same time, they will exploit your ability to express and feel, okay, joy and gratitude. I really want to break that down because some of us missed this. I know I did for quite some time. The narcissist or the cluster B personality, what they like to do is when you feel joy or gratitude, see, that's a high vibe emotion, okay? Because energy is emotions. Emotions are energy and motion, okay? So when the narcissist sees and realizes that you have that capacity, you have the ability to express and feel authentically, feel gratitude and love and joy, you know, and pleasure. See, when they see that in you, they thumbs it down. They detest that. They don't like that. However, at the same time, what's diabolical about the narcissist is that they will exploit that. They will exploit your ability to authentically feel and express those high vibe emotions, okay? Because they're not able to authentically express or feel those high vibe emotions. All right, so when they see this in you, they detest it. They may even squirm, right? Again, what's diabolical and fascinating, or diabolically fascinating, is that they will extract and exploit your ability to do that. So picture the narcissist having their arms out, right? And they're keeping you at a distance. And this person can be your mother, your father, your siblings, or whoever it is right now that this resonates with you about. They have their arms out. You're on the other end of their arm, right? And you're out stretching your hands to hug them. See, you're feeling the love and the gratitude. See what I'm saying? You're able to express and feel the high vibrational frequency emotions such as joy, gratitude, love, and pleasure. So you're expressing that within that cluster B personality. And the narcissists who had their hands out and they're keeping you at a distance, they detest what they see in you. They don't like it. They're very uncomfortable with it, right? So they have their arms stretched out. So this is where the diabolical part comes in, right? They're able to exploit, and they choose to exploit what you're able to do, which is to express and feel love and all those other high vibe frequencies. emotions that I stated. They had their arms out. They got you at an arm's length, right? They don't like what they see in you, but they ready to exploit it. In their other hand, they have some prongs, or they have a syringe, and they take it and they extract the good out of you and they eat it. That's exactly what's going on. When the narcissist or the cluster B personality, when they see the high vibe emotions that you are able to express and feel, they detest it. At the same time, though, they will exploit it so they can eat it, so they can exist, so they can grow big and strong, so they can continue to exist again and survive. See, they don't like what they're very uncomfortable, but they keep you at an arm's length in the relationship, but they'll take that prong or that syringe and they'll extract or they'll pull out that good stuff you got and they'll eat it. And they keep doing that for the duration of the relationship. This is also why nothing seems to get resolved in the relationship, because the narcissist, again, 100, they're putting their 100 into what I just described, keeping you at an arm's length and taking that prong or that syringe and extracting or pulling out the good stuff, the good things, or the high vibe emotions or energy that you have. And they're eating that. Okay? And at the same time, they don't want to have nothing to do with you. You're like a host. Okay? And you're just like a human wastebasket to them. Or like a petri dish. All right? And when I saw this, that was also a game changer for me. That helped me to realize this was why, no matter how much I tried to make the relationship pleasant for both of us, like a win-win, and no matter what my feelings and not saying that it really didn't matter, what I'm saying in the constructs of that unhealthy relationship with the cluster B, the more I love seemed like the worse they behaved. You see what I'm saying? That's why, because they're going 100 with, again, keeping at an arm's length and pulling out what they need to survive. They 100 with that. They all in with that. And you giving 100 with trying to embrace them, love them, take care of them, nourish them. You see what I'm saying? So it's you both going 100 at it. And it's energy and spirit that don't resonate with each other. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, you know? So, I mean, it's sad, but this is what occurs. These individuals are, okay, let me go back. Yes. Emotions can be referred to as energy emotions. I did mention that. Yep. And low vibrational frequency emotions such as fear, anger, jealousy, and hatred are often felt and expressed by the cluster Bs. So again, like I was talking about, those high vibrational frequency emotions that I was talking about, joy, pleasure, so on and so on. See, narcissists, they have a low vibrational frequency or low vibrational emotion that they often feel, which is jealousy, anger, hatred, and fear. Those they can feel, they can go from 0 to 100 with that. Okay, and they seem to pretty much internalize and carry these types of emotions. This is really what they feel. They're not able to express or feel pleasure, joy, love, you know, and the other emotions that I was talking about. They're not, the high vibe emotions, they detest it. They don't like it. They're uncomfortable with it, yet they will use it to survive off of, like a predator. They will extract, feed off of, and they will use that so they can continue to exist, so they can continue to grow bigger and stronger and exist and continue to feed off of not just you, but other people. This is what's going on here, all right, with the cluster B personality and relationships with other people who may behave codependently. This is what's really going on. Again, I want you guys to keep in mind, you being like on the opposite side of the spectrum, of the same spectrum with the cluster B personality, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. I know this is one of the things that helped me out in the past, was to kind of keep that in mind because that helped me to see certain things more clearly. Okay, so high vibrational frequency emotions such as love, gratitude, pleasure, and joy are not felt but exploited. Like I was explaining to you guys before, they will do this for sources of supply. Okay, so next example. Energy transference is an involuntary and natural occurrence which takes place between sources of energy. People are sources of energy, whether they are aware of this or not. So pause right there. All of us, you know, we are all comprised of energy, not just flesh, not just spirit, you know, also of energy. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't exist. We just couldn't, no one can exist without it. Okay, so energy, again, is emotions are energy in motion. So this is something else that helped me too. This is how the narcissist can continue to feed. So when I feel certain emotions, right, it can be joy, gratitude, and the narcissist will eat that up. And at the same time, this is where the energy transference comes in. At the same time, the energy that is transferred, right, because energy can't be destroyed, but it can be transferred. So what happens is that when the narcissist goats you into an argument, for example, they goat you into an argument is heated, is on. See, the narcissist is feeding. This is often why they seem relaxed after they have succeeded in goating you into an argument. This is why they seem relaxed. This is why, because the energy transference. See, the jealousy, the fear, all those low energy emotions that they usually carry, they're transferring that to you in the energy transference. So when y'all in an argument, see, maybe your day was going well until they goaded you into an argument. That's where the energy transference come in. That's the switcheroo. So you're left now, you feel worse. You felt great until that point. So your day was going fantastically until you were starting to deal with that narcissist that you may live with, or cluster personality that you have a relationship with. Everything was great until that was it, till you dealt with them. And then your mood changed. Okay, you felt great, you felt high, you know, but now you feel low. When you dealt, that's why the energy transfers, because that's how they feel, and they transferred it to you, and you gave them that high, that great feeling, right? That all the joy and the pleasure that you feel, you gave it to them. That's why they relax, and that's why they feel better after they go you into an argument, after they done made some stuff pop off, you know, all the drama, all the chaos. They feel relaxed, they feel better. They're like, I feel better now. Why? The energy transference. You just gave them all the great stuff that you have. You just gave it to them, him or her. That's why they feel better. They got you into an argument. They hooked you in. And what they gave you was what they were feeling. Their day may have been going terribly while your day was going great. You see what I'm saying? Then y'all just did a switcheroo. But see, what happens is that there's compliance. So if you're there, if you're available for that switcheroo to happen, the narcissist really doesn't care who you are. You can be their mama, or they care. They don't care. It's like, as long as that transfers can take place, they're good, because they have to feed. So your day was going great. You started dealing with them. Their day may have been, you know, sucking, going downhill. And when they got with you, switcheroo. All that great stuff that you was feeling that day, they just snatched it from you. Okay, they just took it. And what did you give them? Was that great stuff that you had, right? And what did they give you? All the crap, all the bullshit. They just gave it to you. So y'all just made a switcheroo. Y'all just agreed, actually. I know some of y'all don't want to hear this, but y'all just agreed to switch it. Okay? So y'all agreed to have that trade-off. And I just don't think that's a fair trade-off. I personally don't think that's a fair trade-off. But hey, in a sense, it is a fair trade-off. What do I mean by that? You have to comply. You have to agree to comply. You have to agree to be available for the switcheroo to take place. In other words, if you continue to desire to have a great relationship with the cluster B, that's another way of complying. That's another way of being available for the switcheroo to happen. Okay, so yeah, in a sense, it is fair. You know, we don't like it, but you know, of course, we can do something about that. But yeah, it is, because again, two opposing energies and spirits, they're not meant or designed to share the same space for a long period of time, if at all. However, when we force that, then there's some issues. All right. So again, people are sources of energy, whether they are aware of it or not. Energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be transferred. So as I was just explaining to y'all, the switcheroo. High vibe emotions are received by narcissists while they provide their target for sources of supply with low vibe emotions in order to continue to exist and behave as they do. Without energy, no one could possibly continue to exist. The cluster B personality only needs and desires the compliance and agreement of their targets in order to continue to feed and survive. Okay, those who continue to comply with the unrealistic expectations of narcissists will often suffer trauma. Okay, unfortunately, they will often suffer trauma, depression, guilt, shame, fear, anger, anxiety, spiritual conflict / warfare, confusion, and various forms of abusive behavior at the cluster B's hands due to their projecting death, falsehood, and destruction on them. Now, I was pretty much breaking that down earlier when I was talking about the switcheroo, the energy transference. So what the cluster B personality also is doing is projecting falsehood. Okay, they're projecting all kinds of stuff, actually. But falsehood is one way to wrap that up, because they have a false sense of self, and they project a false image to the world. Narcissists do this. So in a nutshell, all the stuff that they don't like about themselves, all the projection that they do, that's falsehood. Okay, because they don't even authentically feel or express love, joy, gratitude. See, they don't even do that for real. When they do it, they pretend. It's staged, and they pretend. So this is why I say the falsehood. They project falsehood. All right, and they pretend to do this for sources of supply, to hook you in, not only hook you but other people. So they project death. Okay, anything that's life sustaining, they like to pervert it. Think about it. This is why a lot of cluster B personalities, they are sexually pervert. Okay, they are sexually perverted. They are sexual perverts. Not trying to, insult anyone, but I'm just telling it. This is not an accident. Some of us have dealt romantically with cluster B personality, and we know this to be true. We've come to find this out. Okay, so they also project death. Anything that's life sustaining, they thumbs it down. Okay, that's not what they like, but they will exploit it for sources of supply. Okay, so they project falsehood and they project death. Another way of putting that is, as far as like the death, they like to kill a person's spirit. They like to bring a person's spirit down. And you and I know I can. Some of you can probably think of a time when, again, you were feeling pretty good. And as soon as you started dealing with that person who's a cluster B personality, that's when your spirits went down. And let's just say they didn't even say anything to you. They just walked in the room. You were okay until their presence was upon you. And you was like, thumbs that down. I don't like that, right? I don't feel good. Some of us feel like something was taken from us. And this person just walked in the room. Sometimes we have a dream about them, and that's troublesome. So they like to project death instead of sustaining life and providing life. And yeah, I'm going to take it far and say that even if the male is the narcissist and he impregnates a woman, that's another video. They don't like, let me put it like this, or the other way around too. If the narcissist is a female and she is impregnated, see, that's life force. That's life force. Here's where they pervert it. They have children, and the cluster, whoever the cluster personality is, whether it's male or female, they are a parent. They like to, this is where the death comes in. They like to make sure that they use that child for sources of supply. They don't celebrate life. They look at their children or their child as a piece of property or as an extension of them. Like that child doesn't have his or her own identity. This is where the sense of self comes in. That is poor. This is where the poor self-image also comes in. But when we want to focus on new beginnings, we have to look at that. I know I did. Okay, got to look at that. But this is where the projecting of death comes in. When that narcissist, see, if they are cluster B personality parent, again, with a children, see, that's a life force. When there's a child that comes into the world, take anything that is deemed sacred, divine, life, like a life force, such as a child coming into the world. See, the narcissist gets off on thinking he or she can pervert that, therefore bringing death onto it, perverting it, and getting away with it, doing it all out of spite. That's exactly what is projecting death is about. Some of it is, but I wanted to break that down because some of you might be wondering, okay, what does she mean by projecting death? Well, that's it. Taking anything that's life sustaining and pretty much shitting on it and pissing on it and perverting it, and all the while thinking that you're going to get away with it. This is what the cluster B personality does. Thinking all the while there's no consequences to that, because this is all for sources of supply by any means necessary. That's it. Projecting death, and also influencing someone to destroy him or herself. That's also projecting death. Okay, so a narcissist, they like to do that, getting someone to destroy themselves. Okay, because this gives them sources of supply. It's very sad, very sick, sadistic, and then some. I think it is. You know, I give that a million thumbs down, because that's just horrible, and that's an understatement. So projecting death, this is one of their faves or go-tos for mega sources of supply. All right, so also projecting destruction. They like to do that too. That kind of goes right into the death. Anything to destroy something. They like to project destruction as well. Okay, so that goes into, again, the falsehood, the death. That kind of is a correlation of everything what I just said. They project death and falsehood. That goes right into projecting the destruction. Okay, so people who are around narcissists long enough, they realize that their luck, I don't believe in luck, but I'm just using this as an example. Things tend to go very well in their life until they deal or have that cluster B personality around them. Again, the energy transference. Okay, you may have had a great job. Your finances may have been on point until you got involved with that sucker. Okay, or that thought over there. Okay, so you know, you're like, wow, just my luck seemed to ran out when I got involved with this person, or having this particular family member around me. Whenever I'm around them, things seem to go south. See, that's part of projecting destruction onto another person. Their thoughts start to be like, well, I really can't do this. See, at first, maybe you have had some confidence in yourself, but when you started getting involved with the cluster B personality, see, them projecting destruction onto you looks like this. You start to not believe in yourself anymore. Okay, you start not to enjoy the things that you used to enjoy. You're feeling depressed a lot. Okay, so all of that is destruction. They destroy your spirit. You had high spirits, but now they're low. So that's where they project. Okay, they project the destruction as well as the falsehood and the death. They project all that onto people around them. Cluster B personalities are masterminds. They're master manipulators at doing this. They can orchestrate some of the raunchiest, okay, chaos and destruction you never thought you wanted to know. They're very good at it. And sometimes they do this from families to families, generation to generation. Okay, now I'm going to be getting into part 2. And this is when we are looking at the internal relationship inventory. Part 1 was external relationship inventory. So now we are into part 2. Okay, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're comfortable. Okay, now I really hope you are enjoying this video. Okay, now the topics I'm going to be talking about here in part 2 are self-image and self-regulatory processing and becoming mindful. Those are the 3 topics in part 2 to internal relationship inventory. All right, let's go. I'm going to be going over points as well as examples. And again, at the end of the slide presentation, I'm going to be giving or sharing actually some critical questions as well as tools. And there will be resources that you can view later. All right. My little, gotta find my little drink. It's good. All right. First point, a self-image that has been tainted due to traumatic experiences can be very challenging to overcome, but not impossible. Choosing to have a better relationship with yourself is one of the noblest feats you may ever make in life. All right. In order to accomplish this, one has to take inventory of the relationship one has had with his or herself, which automatically involves self-image. Pause. All right. So about that, and I actually touched on that earlier. And what I was saying is that when a person starts to focus on their own new beginnings, right? One of the things they're naturally and automatically going to do is look at the relationships they're having in life, whether it's the current relationships or the past relationships. Most of the time, it's going to be a combination of the two. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Instead of becoming stagnant and just focusing on the bad relationships, no, look at all your relationships in the past, okay, that you can recall, right? Now, I know for me, some of those relationships in my past, I had to kind of dig a little bit. But anyway, I used my past as a reference guide. This is where it gets interesting. When you start to take relationship inventory internally, not just externally, but internally. You want to start looking at the valuable lessons learned, not just looking at the things that occurred in those relationships that were painful and traumatic. Not just that. You want to, be mindful of that too, but you also want to look at the overall relationship, each relationship in your past and current relationship. You want to look at it overall and just look at the valuable lessons learned. Ask yourself, what is the purpose of the relationship? Okay. And this will also clear some things up once you do that. But when we start to focus on new beginnings, right, we have to look at our relationships. We have to look at the ones in the past as well as the current ones and start really taking some inventory and use our past. When we look at the past relationships, use the past as a reference guide. Okay. And then look at the valuable lessons learned from those relationships, because that will put some things into perspective today for you. All right. So I know for me, it did. So the self-image also plays a part in that. Okay. So you have to look at, how do you view yourself? And in each one of those relationships that you have right now, and the relationships you have had, what was your self-image? How did you see yourself? How did you perceive yourself? How did others see you? You know, think about some of the comments you've gotten from others, and maybe not know something, not so nice comments, you know, maybe the insults. Okay, not really focus on that, but be mindful that you received some of those insults, but look at the source. Who was insulting you? Okay, and if you can think about, okay, if you can, pardon me, if you can recall, how was their life? This person who was insulting you, did other people really love and like them? Were they very respectful to others? More than likely they were not. They probably put on an image that they were all that, but they probably had to manipulate people to be around them. Okay, so the self-image is very important here, especially when we're taking inventory of relationships. How do we play into each one of those relationships, and how do we think and view ourselves? How do we feel about ourselves? That's where the self-image comes in, as well as a sense of self. Okay, so it's not impossible. You know, when you choose to have a better relationship with yourself, it is one of the best and noblest feats that you can accomplish in your life. It really is, because this way you're starting to make some changes for the better for yourself when it comes to relationships and really in your life in general. So having unhealthy relationships can result in not having a strong sense of your own identity. Okay, one may think and feel that in order to be validated, loved, respected, and accepted, he or she must perform to earn it. Because I was touching on that earlier. You don't have to perform. If you don't vibe with somebody, it's okay. You don't have to make it okay between you and somebody else. A lot of us who have been groomed to behave codependently as adults, this is one of the signature marks that we have to, when there's tension, we think we have to be the peacemakers. We think we have to make it okay. No, you don't. That's just false. Okay, so one may think, I'm going to repeat that last one. One may think and feel that in order to be validated, loved, respected, and accepted, he or she must perform to earn it. Having a strong desire to love and be loved without knowing that you have this birthright could influence feelings of doubting your true identity and purpose. Okay, because that, again, that speaks to the identity, the self, and how you fit into all of that in your own life. How do you view yourself in your own life? Very important. Who are you on this planet? Very important. A lot of that is lost when we deal with cluster B personality. A lot of that. We really don't know who, because we're so busy, some of us, right? Because we were groomed to do this. We're providing everything that the narcissist needs, and we're left starving. We don't really even know who we are, yet alone what we desire and need. So that poor self-image, okay, when we switch that around, focus on new beginnings, switch that around, it's a game changer, because then you're starting to know yourself. You're switching that around. Now you have a stronger sense of yourself. Okay, so there is often a vicious cycle of low self-esteem, a lack of confidence, self-mutilation, overeating, binge eating, obsessive thoughts and behaviors, depression, guilt, shame, unmanaged anger, rage, and anxiety, which is correlated to a poor self-image and identity crisis. Okay, so the poor self-image and the identity crisis all goes right into what I just mentioned. All those feelings, all, you know, anxiety, depression, mutilating oneself, you know, being a cutter, you know, all of this is due to the poor self-image and having an identity crisis, not knowing who you are. See, all of that goes right into that. Okay, and unfortunately, a lot of us, we have dealt with the cluster B personality and relationships, and it has resulted in some very traumatic experiences. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But again, everything I just mentioned has everything to do well, not everything, but a lot to do with the poor self-image and having an identity crisis. In other words, not knowing yourself. Okay. So there is often a vicious, pardon me, there is often a vicious cycle that I went over that, pardon me. Okay. It is not uncommon that every individual involved in a dysfunctional, unhealthy relationship begins to think and behave alike. Okay, everybody's a carbon copy. In a dysfunctional relationship, dysfunctional families, unhealthy relationships, notice how a lot of people are carbon copies of one another. This is very often, okay? And it's not uncommon either. But yeah, it is not uncommon. I'm just gonna read that again. It is not uncommon that every individual involved in a dysfunctional, unhealthy relationship begins to think and behave alike in order to keep the dysfunctional behavioral patterns intact. Some are so accustomed to this behavioral pattern that they rarely seek to change or interrupt it in their own life. So I pretty much touched on that too. Whereas when we are so accustomed to dealing with cluster B personality and people like that, right? When we're so accustomed to that in our lives, we're very familiar with that. We rarely seek to change it, okay? Because we are creatures of habit. You know, we human beings are creatures of habit. So we're not necessarily going to try to change that, even though it feels terrible. The experience is traumatic. We're rarely going to try to, pardon me, we're rarely going to try to change it because we're so accustomed to it. Okay, even though it is costing us our health, our spirits. Yeah, it's costing a lot. Okay, sometimes even our minds is costing us. All right, so and I'm talking about, you know, being in relationships with cluster B personality. But yeah, carbon copies of everybody. This is something that we intuitively, we know it's not the best for us, but we're accustomed to it, so we'll go with it. We'll continue to go with it, and we're carbon copies of everybody in the unhealthy relationship, and we really don't know who we are, and we're not really trying to find out who we are. So we have a poor self-image, and we have we don't have a strong sense of self. In other words, an identity crisis. Okay, so a lot of this can be stemmed from actually childhood being groomed by the cluster B personality, which is often the case. Being groomed by the cluster B personality results in, as we're older, we see this kind of stuff happening. We're not, you know, we really don't know who we are. We're carbon copies of other people that we're involved with. We're having depression, anxiety issues, panic attacks, you know, anger issues, unresolved anger, resentment, you know, not knowing how to manage our anger. All these things are happening. Okay, but yet at the same time, we don't seek to try to change it. So again, today, I want to encourage you all to focus on your own new beginnings. Okay, try to turn that around. All right, here we go. Examples. While those in your life who have cluster B personality continue to project falsehood, death, and destruction onto you, it's possible that you believe that being a host or a human wastebasket to the narcissist is the only thing you are able to contribute to others. This is false, okay, and possibly demonically influenced. Let me say that again. This is false and possibly a demonic influence. Okay, is demonically influenced. This person, I'll get to that later. Okay, let me move on. In order for demonic influence to occur in a person's life, it needs a gateway. Those with cluster B personalities display behavioral patterns which suggest that they have been demonically influenced. Therefore, project and energetically transfer fear, hatred, jealousy, and anger onto those around them. I touched on that in a previous slide, which could cause more demonic influence to occur from one relationship to another. So this is often why when that demonic influence enters, you know, it goes through the gateway, okay, and say it comes into our life because we're involved with that cluster B personality, right? That demonic influence travels from one relationship to the other. This is often why when we don't clear that energy, right, from the previous relationship with the narcissist, and we move on to another relationship, this is often why the residue from that energy transference continues on to the next relationship. A lot of us do this, so don't kick yourself. A lot of us, I've done this. A lot of us do this until we become aware how important it is to clear that low energy cycle, or to break the low energy cycle that was occurred with the narcissist. That energy, again, when we're dealing with people, that's energy transference all day long. When we don't clear that, when we don't deal with it, we have another relationship. It can be a romantic relationship, a friendship, a business partnership. It doesn't matter what ship it is. It can sink because we haven't cleared that low energy cycle that occurred when we were dealing with the narcissist or the cluster personality. Okay, when I realized that, that was another game changer for me. Very important to clear that energy. Okay, so again, the demonic influence is, again, that ties right into what I just said. When you don't clear that, you got another relationship and the demonic influence shows up. It's there. It hasn't been dealt with, which is, again, another way of saying the energy transference. Okay, but anyway, it needs a gateway. Let me go back to where I was. All right, y'all, we can get through this. I know some of this is what I'm saying is kind of heavy, but you know, we can get through this. All right. It's not all doom and gloom here. Cluster B personality seems to delight and cannot rest until they have directly or indirectly caused the demise of others. Okay, people who are involved personally with narcissists, especially for long periods of time, can experience trauma, self-destruction, and emotional stress as a result. Okay, I kind of touched on that in previous slides. That just absolutely continuing to engage or to entertain or to become involved, okay, or continuing to be involved with cluster B personality, probably not a good idea. Probably, you know, every situation is different, but this is an indication that there's a poor self-image. I'm talking about when you continue to comply with the cluster B personality, is an indication that this is an individual who, you know, chooses to deal with the cluster B personality because they have a poor self-image. They really don't know who they are. They are who they say the narcissist thinks they are. Okay, when the narcissist says, okay, you are this or you are that, that person who has a poor self-image, they believe that. They go with that because they don't really know who they are. It's very sad, but tends to be often the case. Okay, so this can cause, you know, more trauma, you know, as time goes on, emotional stress. All these things are going on while dealing with the cluster B personality. Okay, next example. Practicing self-regulatory processing and breaking low energy cycles from unhealthy relationships can possibly help with trauma recovery, as well as regain a strong sense of self. Learning how to process stress effectively without losing the self is often, okay, what's missing when dealing with complex PTSD as a result of traumatic experiences within the constructs of unhealthy relationships since childhood. Okay, so some of us who have been dealing with the cluster B personality since childhood, some of us have or are dealing with something called complex PTSD. I did a video on that. Please check that one out. But yes, this often, well, I'm not going to say often, but sometimes is the result of dealing with a cluster B personality since childhood, who supposedly was raising us, but really what they were doing was grooming us. Okay, so the complex PTSD can come into play for that reason. Okay, so learning how to process stress effectively without losing yourself is often missing when we're dealing with stress. Okay, when we're dealing with challenges and the stresses from challenges. Okay, we tend to lose ourselves. Why? Because we don't have a strong sense of self. We don't know who we are. We're having an identity crisis since childhood. Okay, some of us experience traumatic or have trauma as a result of dealing with other people who are already supposed to be grown, right? Like us. The things that happened in the relationship caused us trauma. Yet we didn't have a childhood where it was maybe full of trauma, right? But when we, in our adulthoods, dealt with somebody else who's a cluster B personality, some of the things that occurred in that relationship could cause trauma. So there's a difference there. Some of us have a history of dealing with cluster B personality since our childhood. Therefore, complex PTSD can come into view or come into our life or end up as a result. We can experience that. Okay. Whereas somebody who's an adult and then they meet a cluster B personality and there are some things that happen in that relationship that cause them trauma, that's not complex PTSD. That might be PTSD, but it's not complex PTSD. Okay. So I did a video on that. I hope you guys check that out if you haven't. You probably will find a lot of great information in there. Okay, let me straighten this up a little bit. There you go. All right. Okay, learning how to process the stress effectively, right, without losing yourself is often what's missing. Because again, we don't really know who we are, okay, already. So when stress occurs due to some type of experience we're having, which is maybe a conflict, a challenge in life, which can induce stress, we lose ourselves in that. Okay, because we already don't know who we are. We don't have a strong sense of self, right? So we don't know how to process the stress effectively. We lose ourselves in that. Okay, so the self-regulatory processing is very helpful. Okay, so we can learn how to process stress effectively. That's very key. All right. Complex PTSD is not a result of adult unhealthy relationships with other adults. Yeah, I broke that down. Those who have a history of such often experience layers of trauma. Okay, so again, those who have, been groomed by cluster B personality since their childhood, they may end up dealing with complex PTSD in adolescence as well as adulthood. Okay, and they have a history. Okay, say that's their history. Layers of trauma can occur because as you go from one experience to another, you go from one relationship to another, there's always going to be some conflict. So those are layers of trauma that can be occurring. As a result, repeated choices to engage in unhealthy relationships occur as the layers of trauma, right? As the layers of trauma continue to stack up over time. Okay, so as some people continue to have unhealthy relationship after unhealthy relationship, yes, those are layers of trauma that can occur over a period of time. Okay, that's a lot of layers. But unfortunately, this is the case for some people. Okay, so last example, by becoming mindful of your own thoughts and emotions, one can begin to repair their sense of identity, right? Learning to trust you and trust the process will take some emotional discipline. Therefore, having a high emotional IQ, all right? Clarity will bring various types of emotions due to memory and the human, let me read that again, pardon me. Clarity will bring various types of emotions due to memory. The human body has the ability to recall and bring to your attention at any given moment. So let me break that down. All right, so when we start to gain clarity, this can cause some heartache. Okay, this can cause, because we're recalling things that maybe we haven't thought about in a long time, right? And this can cause some frustration. This can cause some anger because we may start to remember things again that we haven't thought about in a long time and maybe we have repressed, right? Some of those experiences were quite traumatic. Therefore, we have repressed some things. But when we gain clarity, it can cause a host of emotions to come up, such as sadness, anger. And so the body has the ability to recall everything that we ever experienced, even when we were in our mother's, wombs, and when we were born, all the touch, all the kisses, all the hugs, or not. Everything. See, the body has a memory too. So when we start to have clarity, when we start to gain clarity, that means the body may also start to feel certain things that it hasn't before. Pardon me. It will start to bring this to your attention. The body has always felt these things. Pardon me. What I meant to say was your body is going to bring certain things to your attention. It already has the memory. The body already has the memory, right? So when you gain clarity, your body has already felt these things and have been feeling it, always been talking to you. Now that you're gaining clarity, your body, is having you recall what it has always been feeling. Now you're paying more attention. You're becoming more mindful. Okay? So that's what that means, having the clarity in the body, having the memories. Okay, it has already been recalling things. But now your body, now that you're gaining clarity, you're focusing on new beginnings and you're becoming more mindful. So now the things your body have already been feeling and experiencing due to past experiences, all right, now you're recalling. Okay, so that's what that means. So part of the human condition is the ability to process thoughts and experience emotions. Okay, becoming overly analytical and highly emotional displays an emotional imbalance, which could result in a reduction of clarity to possible solutions that occur in life. So if we're being overly analytical, I know I've had issues with that before, being overly analytical, okay? Becoming overly analytical and highly emotional, okay? That does indicate emotional imbalance, okay? It really, and that don't mean you're a bad person. That I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm just saying that's an imbalance there that can absolutely cause one to not be able to see solutions to resolve issues. Instead, they look at the problems and they stagnate. They stay stuck looking at the problem instead of looking or probably actually seeing. Yes, seeing the issues and resolving those issues because there's clarity. Okay, there's a balance. Whereas there's an imbalance and you're just looking at the problems and you're stagnant, you're stuck. You're looking at what hurts. You're looking at what bothers you, what the cluster personality said or did that bothered you. That's all you're looking at. That's it. You're stagnant. You're stuck. That's an imbalance. Okay. Whereas when you are seeing the issues to resolve and have the confidence, that's the strong sense of self. That's knowing who you are. You can, you're like, hey, I got this. It don't feel good. Yeah, it looks murky. It looks grim. But hey, I got this. I'm coming out on top. I'm just going to keep on coming up with ideas. See, this is seeing the issues to resolve them. And those possibilities to resolve the issues, they will come to you because you're clear. I hope that makes sense. It's like, because when you keep looking at the problems, that keeps you stagnant. And you're not going to see any solutions at all because you're looking at the problem. But when you're seeing the issues to resolve them with the confidence of resolving them, because you have a strong sense of self, you will begin to see, due to clarity, you will begin to see the solutions to resolve those issues. Okay, so I know that was a game changer for me too. When I started doing that and I shifted, therefore focusing on my new beginnings, yeah, that was huge. That was a big one for me. And I was able to resolve issues, whereas in the past, I would have never thought I could resolve those issues because I was too busy looking at what was bothering me. I was too busy looking at the problems, too busy looking at who was not doing what or who was doing whatever to get on my last damn nerve and all. See, looking at the problem instead of seeing the issues to resolve them, having the confidence, having that sense of self, and saying, you know what, I got this. I can't really see, right? I really can't see all the evidence, but I trust myself and I trust the process. These issues will be resolved, okay? So there's a difference there. It's just a shift in the perception as well as the thinking, while going ahead and maintaining and having some having a high emotional IQ in order to have emotional discipline. You're not all over the place emotionally. So therefore, you're not overly analytical and you're not overly or highly emotional. There's a balance. Okay. So part of the human condition, I did that. Becoming overly analytical, I did that. Okay. People who do not have a strong sense of self can and often become lost in this process due to repeatedly shutting down and numbing out when painful challenges occur, which is a result of possessing a low emotional IQ. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get into these tools. All right. All right, guys, tools. Take steps to incorporate mindfulness to your support base in order to invest in relationships with others who have proven to be trustworthy. Very important. Because people who have not proven to be trustworthy to you, yeah, you might want to pump the brakes. Okay? Because they have to prove that they are trustworthy. All right? In order to have a place in your life. I know that's the way it is for me. In order for an individual to have a place in my life, they have to first prove to me that they are trustworthy. Okay? Because what sense does it make for me to trust myself, yet I want to have relationships with other people, but I suspect everybody. I suspect everybody. I don't even give it a chance. So I have to test and try the spirits and check the energy that they embody. Okay, what you working with, right? And that will help me to be open to at least giving others and myself a chance for a great relationship. Because I'm looking, are they trustworthy? If they're not going to be in my life. I'm not giving them place in my life. What for? I'm not giving them place here or here. For what? Doesn't make sense to do that. So next tool, practice self-regulatory processing to effectively cope with stress and heal from trauma. I just broke that down in the previous slide. Practicing self-regulatory processing. I also did a video on that. It's in the description box below. When I upload this video, you will find it in the description box. Please check out that particular video. You may find it quite interesting. Take inventory of the relationships you choose to invest in and consider what they are all costing you. Yeah. So when we start taking inventory of our relationships, right? The relationships that are external as well as internal, the relationship with ourselves, we start to take inventory of that, right? We have to consider what it's costing us, okay? We have to look at all of that, because when we choose to invest in relationships, again, it is a choice. Now, this one, I'm excluding the one where some of us were children being subjected to the cluster B personalities, terrible tactics. I'm kind of putting that one to the side right now. Not belittling it, but I'm kind of putting that one to the side to make my point here. And that is when we are choosing to have relationships, right? And we're choosing to invest in that. What is it? Is it an investment? What is it costing us? Some of us are being played out of our minds by the cluster B personality. Some of us are being played out of our asses, literally, because we're having sex with the cluster B personality. Some of us are being played out of our minds as well. And everything else. What is it costing us to invest in unhealthy relationships? What is it costing us to invest in healthy relationships? It's all to be taken into consideration. Okay? So practicing, when you start practicing the self-regulatory processing, that plays right into that. You start looking at the relationship you have with yourself and the relationships you have with others. Because when the stresses come, and they will, because every relationship, that's why the self-regulatory processing plays into that. because every relationship does have conflicts. There's disagreements. There's emotional stress sometimes from the challenges that we endure or face, okay? With every relationship. See, the best of relationships has challenges where there may be stress. How are we going to process that? How are we going to deal with it? If we don't know who we are, we get lost in that. So self-regulatory processing is a very valuable tool to add to your support base. I know for me, yeah, it was a game changer. Absolutely. Next tool, gradually discontinue comparing yourself to others. That's self-explanatory. Okay. Visualize yourself successfully thriving forward past unhealthy relationships. We have to visualize this. Okay. Well, actually, visualization is consciousness, mind and spirit and heart. It takes all of it. But anyway, when you start to visualize this, yes, it will manifest in your life. Okay. Another way of putting that, start to practice visualization. Okay, so some of you can, you want to look that up, read up on it, do some research, that's all fine and well. Not that you need my permission, but I know for me, I did a little bit of research on that years ago. And I already knew a little bit of something about it, but I looked into it a little bit further because I was one of those people, again, who was looking at the problems a lot. Okay, looking at what other people weren't doing. They wasn't doing this, they wasn't doing that, they wasn't treating me right, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and sometimes when people spoke to me, I was always talking about what was going on in my life that I didn't like. So visualization, okay, helped me to focus on what I desire. Okay, and it manifested. Some of those things, I'm happy to say, manifested in my life. Okay, better relationships, for one. Starting with the relationship with myself, having a strong support base. I started to visualize this, myself successfully moving forward, thriving past unhealthy relationships. Helped a lot. Okay, so last and final tool, consider your childhood experiences with love, patience, and caution. Because some of us have repressed some memories that are very traumatic and painful. I would not suggest bringing those up, especially by yourself. You have to have a support base. Okay, some of us may have to look into trauma therapy. Okay, some of us may have to do this because there are certain memories that may come up that we have suppressed, right? That now we have to deal with in order to get to a better place in our life. We have to, get rid of that block. We have to get that block out the way. All right, or we have to clear out some low energy cycles. We have to break some low energy cycles. It's very important to do that. So, and having done all of that, some of the process will be that we will start to think about or remember some of the childhood traumas, some of the memories, maybe not necessarily from our childhood, but some of the past relationships we've had with cluster personality, like our previous marriage or our previous romantic relationship. A lot of things went on there that maybe we don't want to think about, or maybe we have repressed. But now that we're, dealing with certain things and we're focusing on new beginnings, we're dealing with these things now. But we have a support base. It's very important to have a support base. Try not to, don't isolate. Try not to do this alone. Okay, it's very important to have a support base. And I've done some. Actually, I did quite a few videos on that. So that's another video that you might want to check out. All right. Having a support base. Because especially when we start dealing with those traumatic memories, boy, I tell you, that's nothing to do alone. And I can testify to that. I did try to do it alone at first. Big mistake. Have a support base. Memories start coming up. Yeah, you're going to need a support base. And I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just saying. I'm just, putting it out there. It is very important to have a support base. Okay, that's one of the reasons why. Because certain things may come up that we have repressed and we don't remember. And that's for good reason, right? We may need that support base. Now, here's another thing I want to say. If we have repressed certain memories, that is our consciousness or our minds or our subconscious minds way of protecting us, giving us exactly what we need. We don't need to remember those memories. Some memories we do need to remember in order to get to a better place in life. I hope that makes sense. It's like some memories will remain repressed, and that's okay. That don't mean that you have to, okay, let me put it like this. See, some people talk about slaying demons. Slaying the demons is not necessarily meaning to wipe them all out for good, right? When we learn how to live above the demons, that's when we're somewhere. That's when we have gotten somewhere. It doesn't mean like wiping them all out, you know, saying that they never exist, because that's like saying in life you will never face challenges, which that's impossible. So learning how to smile above, that's another way of putting it. Learning how to smile above the frowns, okay, the things in life that may, you know, you're influence some sadness, but you visualize getting past that, so you can smile from the inside out. Okay, you can smile. So slaying demons don't necessarily mean getting rid of all of them. It means learning how to live above them. Okay, so go ahead and move on. Critical questions. Who do you think and feel you are? Okay, that was a big one for me back in the day. That was a big one. Who do I feel and think I am? Because a lot of the times, cluster B personality, they're going to tell you who they think and feel you are. And we internalize that. So now we want to turn that around. We want to reclaim our lives. We want to snatch our lives back and focus on new beginnings. And one of the best ways to do that, ask that question. That's a very profound question, I think. Who do you think and feel you are? Okay? Regardless of what the narcissist says, because they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you, and they're not going to be pretty. They're going to tell you who they think and feel that you are. And it's quite false. That's not who you really are. Okay? So in order to regain a sense of your own identity, and to, some of us feel like we never knew who we were. That's okay too. I mean, it's not okay, but I'm saying you can still come out from that. All the things that I'm going with you guys in this video, you can still apply that to your strong support base, or to your support base, or when you begin your support base. Even if you felt like you really never knew who you were, okay, you can still have a strong sense of self, and you can come up out of that identity crisis. Okay. All right. So who do you feel and think you are, right? Very profound. What is the purpose of the relationships you have, including the one you have with yourself? So I was talking about that earlier. What are the purpose? What is the purpose of each relationship? Okay. Very important, because this will help you to realize some of those valuable lessons that were there. Okay. These valuable lessons, once learned, you don't have to repeat. I hope that makes sense. Valuable lesson learned, move forward. Valuable lesson not learned, repeat. Okay, so if you don't learn the valuable lessons, you will repeat the painful experience. New person, new place, you know, new scenario, pardon me, same scenario, new setting. Okay, but you have to go through that painful experience again, because you didn't answer that question. What's the purpose of the relationship? Once you answer that question, then you don't have to have that painful experience again, because you've learned a valuable lesson. All right, last and final question. Do the titles match the roles certain individuals play in your life, in your personal life, actually? So do the titles match the, role that the person is playing in your life? Very profound. I found this to be very profound. There were certain people in my past, guys and gals, that they were in my personal life, but the roles that they were playing didn't match the title. I'm like, what's up with that? Not very, I didn't feel too good about that. But I went along with it for a while, okay, because I hadn't gotten to a better place within myself. So I was complying to a whole lot of bullshit. But anyway, I saw how some people, they had particular titles, but the roles they were playing were starkly different. There was an inconsistency. That didn't set right with me at all. So, for instance, the title, best friend, that's the title. The role that they play, deceiver, but that's my best friend. That's the title. The role doesn't match the title because they are gossiping about me. Every time I turn around, somebody coming up telling me, oh, you know, so-and-so said so. I'm like, huh? We just went out the other night and they said this about me. They're supposed to be my best friend. So the title doesn't match the role that this person is playing in my personal life. Very important. So if this is my best friend, the role should be like, supporter. When I'm going through something, not that they're treating me like a handicap, not that I expect them to resolve my issues. However, I expect my best friend, the title, to have the role of the person who supports me in my efforts to resolve my own issues. They support me in my efforts to do so. They're not rolling up their sleeves trying to slay the dragon for me. They support me in my efforts and they cheer me on to do so. That's the role. That matches best friend. The title, mother. The role, put downer or insulter, very or antagonist. She seems to be at odds with me all the time and seems to do it, on purpose. However, the title is my mother. The role is, somebody who is a put downer or a gossiper or an antagonist. See, that doesn't match. This is my mom, yet she seems to be at odds with me a lot. You see what I'm saying? And again, guys, these are just guys and gals. This is just an example. I'm trying to help you to realize the difference between title and role and how profound it is to get some clarity on that, especially when you're dealing with your personal relationships. Does this person's title match the roles that they play in your personal life? Because if it doesn't, you might have to take some extra inventory, of that relationship. All right. And the same with the self. Are you a person who puts yourself down a lot, yet you go out into the world like the person who has it all together? Title doesn't match the role, even with yourself. You go out into the world and you put on a face and you act like you have it all together. Yet when you're by yourself, the lights are out and it's just you and your makeup. It's the opposite. You put yourself down. You may be drinking too much. You may eat too much. You may tell yourself you're a failure. See what I'm saying? The title and the role has to be consistent and it has to match and it has to correlate. Okay, guys. All right. References and resources. I have 3 different slides here that I've done previously. So these are the references and the resources that help me to comprise of this particular slide presentation. Just use a little bit of the information from those previous slides or videos that I did. So those are the references and the resources. Also, I have some video suggestions to watch. And I had already mentioned some of them. One is the self-regulatory processes. So there's some videos I did on that. Breaking the low energy cycle of narcissists. Beginning stages of trauma therapy. I did several videos on that, but I only listed 2 of those links here. And everything I'm mentioning right now, you guys will find in the description box below after I upload this video. So these are suggested videos to watch. I think they are very, actually, you will probably find them quite interesting. They relate a lot to what I'm discussing with you today. However, in conclusion, I just want to talk to you all about focusing on your new beginnings. This is something that's very important because, well, some of you may find it important because some of you right now, you're having a relationship with cluster B personality, and internally, you're taking a lot in. At the same time, you know that this is not really where you want to be in your life. You know it's not really where you want to be. Yet at the same time, you kind of feel like, or you may be thinking, I don't know how to start to change it. And I'm saying this because based on some of the comments I've read and based on some of the emails I received from some of you, and thank you so much, by the way, I'm loving it. I enjoy it. Please keep that coming. Okay. I'm basing this off of that, what I'm saying. Some of us right now, we are in situations that seemingly is quite grim and dark. However, when we begin to focus on our new beginnings, our own priorities, our own life, when we start to do this, naturally and automatically, we're going to have to look within. We're going to have to look at the relationship we're having with ourselves and other people. I don't care if it's just two other people. Okay? I don't care if it's just your dog or your cat. We have to start looking at all the relationships we're choosing to have. And then we look at the relationships in our childhood, whereas certain things have happened that are traumatic. We were subjected to some horrible things, right? And it's still with us. So we don't really know who we are. We don't have a strong sense of self. And our self-image is very poor. See, all of that correlates. So as we move into new beginnings and we start to incorporate a better life for ourselves, thriving forward past abuses, right? When we start doing all this, we have to take inventory of the internal relationship and the external relationship. Very important to do that. We got to do it. And I suggest, and this is just a suggestion, to build a support base. That support base starts with one person. That's you. Starts with one person. Okay, that's very important because you're the one that's going to navigate the support base. This is where trust comes in. You start to trust yourself, then you can trust other people because it doesn't go the other way around. And I'm telling you, whoa, I tried it. Don't work. Does not work. You have to trust yourself first. So the relationship with yourself is very imperative, okay, in order to have relationships with others. Because the relationship you have with yourself, will definitely reflect on the type of relationships you choose to invest in. So if you invest in a relationship with a narcissist, well, the relationship you're having with yourself more than likely is thumbs down. Because why would you want somebody like that around you? Okay, now I'm not talking about the people that were in our lives when we were children. I'm kind of putting that aside for a minute. I'm talking about those of us who are now adults. That may have been our background, but now we're adults and we have some say. We have some say. We can make some decisions. And if we are continuing to comply, we're continuing to do this, having narcissists and cluster B personality in our lives, we got to look in the mirror. I know I did. I looked in the mirror and I realized, and I had to tell, I didn't have to, but I did. It helped me. I admitted that I was addicted to having unhealthy relationships. That was tough, but I had to do that. I chose to do it in order to continue to thrive forward, to move forward. Let me put it like this too. Somebody implanted something, in me, in my life or whatever, that is a thumbs down. Now I'm in a position to uproot that and get rid of it. That's how you got to kind of look at it. Somebody started the shit. Okay? Somebody started it. So instead of just looking at them and saying, well, you started it, see, that's where you stagnant. So instead of just looking at that person or those individuals who started the bullshit and just remaining stagnant and just looking at that, this is how you have new beginnings. When you start to make that transition and when you start to change. First of all, don't be in resistance, because a lot of us right now are being challenged to change, to transition. Right now. This is how come some of the so-called old heads and the youngins right now, the youngins and the old heads, they are clashing right now. That's one of the reasons why, because a lot of people, they're being challenged to change and transition. And when we resist that, this is another indication of keeping cluster B personality around us, because we're resisting the change that is occurring. We are being called or challenged. I like to put it that way. We're being challenged to change. Okay, this is not about being good or bad. This is not being evil or good. This is not about that. It's not about that. This is about remaining consistent with yourself, within yourself. Remain consistent, meaning know thyself, and continue to grow with it. Trust yourself, trust you in the process. When we are in resistance to change, a lot of ugly things can occur. Our past comes up, even the things that we're trying to repress from our past, it comes up. That's another indication of resisting the transition and the change. Okay, that we are being challenged. You know what? I'm gonna take it that far. Say, I think just about everybody on the planet right now is being challenged to change. Okay, so when we resist that, a lot of things that are very ugly can occur. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this live streaming, is because right now a lot of people are being challenged to change. Some people are stuck and stagnant because they keep focusing on their past, which is very painful. And my heart goes out to you. I've had some ugly things in my past too. Okay, that I did not want to deal with. Did not want to deal with. But when I did, that helped clear the path for me to continue to thrive forward. All right. So some of us who are still stuck in these, it's not, scratch that word stuck. Some of us who are still choosing to be involved and to comply in unhealthy relationships. Yeah. It's because some of us we think we don't deserve something better. Okay. So in this video, I really would like to challenge you to, be kind, patient with yourself. Okay. Work to turn that around. I will be doing more videos on this subject, so stay tuned for that. But I really wanted to jump and start off with this one. Okay. Now, those videos won't be as lengthy as this one, but I certainly hope you guys enjoyed this video. And that concludes the slide presentation part of the live streaming. Okay. All right. Now in the chat, I've already included the slide presentation. Hope you guys have been able to see that. Hi, Ellie. I've already. Hi, Cicely. Thank you guys for joining me. Slide presentation. Hope you guys have been able to see that. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Ellie. I've already. Hi, Cicely. Thank you guys for joining me. Slide presentation. Hope you guys have been able to see that. Yes. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, I'm loving these comments, guys. Hi, Cicely. Thank you guys for joining me. Slide presentation. Hope you guys have been able to see that. Yes. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Life Goal. Guys. Thank you guys for joining me. Okay. Yes. Okay, guys, I love the comments. Thank you so much for interacting with each other. And I just want to say that the next live stream is coming up soon. Okay, guys, I love the comments. Thank you so much for interacting with each other. And I just want to okay, guys, this concludes the live streaming. And I think I'm going to have a question and answer at the end of the next live stream. Okay, guys, this concludes the live streaming. And I think I'm going to have a question. Thank you guys so much for your participation and joining me in this live stream. And I'm going to try to work on the microphone so there's not an echo next time. Thank you guys so much. And see you soon. And take care of yourself. And again, focus on your new beginnings. All right. Thank you guys so much. And see you soon. And take care of yourself. And again, focus on your All right. I'm just really loving these comments, guys. All right. I'm just really loving these comments, guys. Okay, wow, this is great.